Nobody ever wants to sit in the front seat, right?
Nope. That is fun.
Good evening. I am calling to order the meeting for the zoning commission for Berkshire Township. Today is June 11th. It is 7 p.m.
John?
Here.
Demita?
Here.
Tony?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
Jessica? Here.
Thank you. With that being, roll call being done, I need a motion to approve the minutes from our February 5th, 2026 meeting. We've all received those and had a chance to peruse them. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions that need to be brought to our attention this evening?
I move to approve the minutes for the February 5th, 2026 meeting of the zoning commission. Seconded.
Thank you. Roll call.
John?
Yes.
Demita?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Andy?
Was I even here?
No.
No.
Okay, abstain then.
Matt?
I can't remember.
Yes.
Jessica? Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pass down the minutes. If you can sign them, please make sure I get them back. Thank you.
Our meeting this evening will conclude at 9:30 p.m. Any unfinished business will be continued until our August 6th, 2026 meeting at 7 p.m. at 1454 Rome Corners Road, Galena, Ohio 43021. Our statement of policy. As is the adopted policy of the Berkshire Township Zoning Commission, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentations. Following the applicant's presentation, preliminary questions or points of clarification from the commission will be allowed. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment. Each individual will be granted 3 minutes. We ask that you be brief and to the point. The chairperson, which is myself, will limit repetitive comments and close public comments after a reasonable time. The commission will ask questions and take actions if needed. Our new business tonight is application number 26-056, Tuffman Equipment Rental. Request is to rezone to planned industrial. This is a preliminary plan application. So no matter what happens here tonight, our vote will only go forward to, if it's approved, it'll go in front of the commission, and they will make the final decision. So with that being said, are there any opening comments by anybody having read the packet? Because we're only looking at whether or not to rezone. This is a preliminary application.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I do have an opening comment that I think needs to be addressed right up front. The key question here is, before we get into the details of the designs and the use and the hours and all of that, and we did receive the additional information. I read through it, even though it caused additional work. But the key question here is this an appropriate rezoning?
Absolutely.
And when we look at the criteria of whether this is something that benefits the community, that is congruent with the plans of the community, that it promotes the surrounding neighborhood, that it actually enhances it, frankly, I don't see how this is anywhere close to doing that. So unless there are other comments, I'm actually ready to make a motion.
Mr. Weed, did you have something?
Yeah, a couple things first. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. So if you whisper to your buddy out there, you'll be surprised. It will pick it up. if you want to complain about my baldness, we will hear it. So please understand. Secondary, I appreciate your frankness, Tony, but I think we do need to give the applicant an opportunity to present their application. It is a preliminary. You guys are making a recommendation to the trustees. If you approve, deny, or with changes, it all goes to the trustees. They have final decision. Okay, so back to you.
All right, thank you. With that being said, applicants, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and your position, and we're ready for your presentation.
Hi, my name is Chris Stevens. My wife and I lead Northgate Church, and do I need to turn this on? I think I do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, appreciate you guys taking the time. I know most of you, some new faces. We're second generation leaders of the church. We've been part of the community for about 48 years, 33 of which have been at this location. And back when we moved here, this was an RV sales and repair facility, and there was not much else out there. A couple gas stations and a couple fast food joints. Obviously, it's changed a lot over the years, and we've had offers for about 32 of the 33 years. That's something maybe most people don't know. And so we've wrestled with these decisions for a very long time. A lot of the people that have come through are names you'd recognize, and obviously it's been a challenging decision. Our main priority, obviously, is to serve the community, but the main focus for us really has been, what are we leaving the next generation? And this wasn't as much a commercial zone as it is now. And we have tried to procure more property so that we can leave the next generation with something and benefit the community. Obviously, though, that's become a little prohibitive with the cost and a lot of the land already being developed. So we kind of made the decision last year that we are going to sell. And we started looking at some of the options. And our hope is to remain in Berkshire Township. We've been a part of the community for a long time. Hopefully we have a good reputation. And so we wanted to be responsible partners in the township and responsible with the neighbors, and we've taken into consideration their needs as well. And personally, I live right there as well. But most of the uses, if I'm honest, and even the permitted uses, would have been much closer to the homes, would have torn down the building, and would have torn down the green spaces that we've created. Only one user in those 32 years has come up with, I think, a solution. And so I understand, I do. But hopefully you guys will hear both our future needs. Obviously, we want to consider the neighbors, but hopefully you'll hear this on the merits of the proposal as well. So I thank you. I appreciate your time and your consideration tonight. I'm going to introduce James now with Tuffman, and he'll take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
As Chris shared, James Adams with Tuffman Equipment. I lead the business development side of the business. We started on this journey about 2 years ago looking for the right property for sale.
please.
Speak up, please. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just right into the mic.
Yep, you got it. So about 2 years ago, we embarked on this venture to look for the right property that is located south of where we operate, which is north central Ohio. And as you can imagine, property that fits our scale is challenging to find. So we feel like we have a really good story to tell. We've been walking this path for about the last 9 months. With me tonight will be some of our partners, from architect to engineer to legal counsel. Each one, I would say, is a expert on their particular sides in terms of the information, so we welcome all questions at the end. I'm gonna grab that clicker real quick. So just this first slide, I promise we won't bore you too much. There's about 15 total slides, 13 are probably relevant with information. A little bit about Tuffman Equipment and Supply. We've been in business for 23 years. We're a privately held, family-owned business, second generation coming up through the ranks. As I shared before, 3 locations in north central Ohio. Our first one was in Norwalk. And we've been growing. the business economy that keeps pushing construction, the opportunity to follow those relationships to other parts of Ohio. Currently, we operate in Greater Toledo, Greater Cleveland, even in Greater Columbus now. Tough to say a full percentage, but a significant amount of our business is south of Mansfield and into Columbus. So we've been expanding. We find that we fill a niche that's still in the marketplace where we're not necessarily a national brand that negotiates contracts pre-project. We fill a little void there in terms of people that need things on the weekends, people that need lighter equipment, as well as those gaps when something goes down for a larger project. Okay. We support all kinds of folks, contractors, municipalities, DIYers, homeowners. The closest Home Depot Lowe's is like 10 miles away. And so you'll find a lot of those type of folks that want to do their own project, want to maybe get their hands dirty, lean on someone like us, which takes me to my next slide. So we like to think of ourselves as a little bit more of a fancier rental house. It's tough to dress the business up because equipment is equipment. But you can see there, we like to maintain a fresh look to our facilities. I think if you were to drive to some of the other locations in your area as well as outside your area, they get a little tired at times. Below there, even though they're a little challenging to see, is just a list of equipment we have. Some of it does stand up about 16 to 20 feet. Others is below an 8-foot fence line traditionally. I like to keep tight rows, like to keep the weeds down, like to make it easy to operate our business as well. Okay. As you come inside our locations, it's more of a retail feel. Yes, you can find this on a lot of other big box stores, but some of these particulars when it comes to masonry, landscaping, yard work, kind of goes hand in hand with the equipment. So we make it a one-stop shop for our customers to consult, is this the right piece of equipment for me, and what are you doing with it? And we usually have the supplies that coincide with it. It's a clean look. We have it professionally cleaned every week. So it's not this muddy kind of contractors, even though that's the customer we do serve, type feel. We put a lot of time and effort into that. Okay. With that, I want to introduce our legal counsel who pretty much represents how we look at the zoning components of this, Mr. DJ.
Okay, thank you to all of you for your time tonight. Really appreciate your thoughtfulness and reviewing this application and giving us a chance to be heard.
Name,
Please
please.
state your name.
DJ Swearingen, legal counsel for Tough Man. Like Chris mentioned from the beginning, I think he made a very salient point that this property is going to change. And what it looks like is going to be up to Chris, the owner, and you as the commission making that important decision. But we would offer that right now, effectively, it's a blank slate. And what is that going to look like? What's going to be in the best interest of the community? And we appreciate Chris's comments that he believes that that's Tough Man equipment. I would also say that Tough Man is owned and operated by a great family. The Spears are a family that you want in your community, both professionally and personally. You'll do business with them on Friday, you'll see him in church on Sunday, and then on Monday, you'll probably run into him at some sort of fundraising event for the community. So this is not a big box operation. This is not a private equity invested firm that's looking to just make another dollar. This is someone that's coming down to Delaware County and to Berkshire Township to invest in this community and help it thrive. Our request today is to rezone to an industrial district. And it's interesting, we really struggled with this because in all of our other locations, we're zoned commercial retail, which I think makes the most sense. But when we looked at the resolution, our use was in the industrial district, and we'll get to that more in a minute, which has rightfully caused some consternation amongst the neighbors, probably amongst some of you as you look at this plan. So we're happy to address that with our future comments. So speaking of the neighbors, that was critically important to Tough Man to try to get that as right as possible and be very transparent and address their concerns up front. So over the course of probably the last 3 to 4 weeks, Tough Man has brought their team down for 1, a group meeting with the neighbors, 2, we had representation at the local HOA meeting to stick around afterwards and answer questions. And then I think 3, most importantly, we've engaged the adjacent property owners because it's very important that they feel comfortable with this proposal on an individual basis. And various members of the teams have stood in their backyards and looked at their line of sight and tried to see, this is what this person's gonna be looking at, and how do we make them comfortable with that viewpoint and comfortable with being next to our operations. So in that vein, Tough Man entered into one-page agreements with different neighbors, not all adjacent neighbors, but different neighbors, for various requirements on screening the property and making it better. So these agreements, I believe, are in your packets. Those range from trimming trees to screening the fence to providing additional screening westward. So the original plan included mounding with trees to screen. Later on, that mounding moved further westward to be meandering mounding with the trees on the top to better screen for the neighbors. The other, and so you can see it, some of these agreements we've included in the packet and are on the screen. The other thing we heard that was a constant and is very important and goes in line with why is this industrial was, well, what if you leave and move? What does that look like then? And I think James said it very well at one of the meetings, well, we want to be here forever. We don't want to leave. But in considering that, we are offering that zoning restrictions be put into the deed based off of the uses. And those uses are here. And you can see that a lot of those are manufacturing and milling. So we don't want to see that. We know the neighbors don't want to see that. And those would be some of the concerning remaining uses in the industrial district. So what we're proposing is that we literally copy and paste those uses into our deed to make sure that those can't be enacted on the property at some later date. So we offer that. We would also like to show too some of the uses that are permitted without additional requests from zoning right now. Those include things like auto service, tire center, laundry services, movies, gasoline, bars and restaurants, hotels and motels. Some of these are 24-hour operations, and they can operate there because of the commercial overlay district without any further type of zoning. We would, in our opinion, and obviously subject to some possible disagreement, we would see ourselves as a less intense use than some of the already permitted uses in operating our business at this location. So we wanted to offer that as well. And then again, like I said, you see the manufacturing and milling uses that we are totally fine with eliminating as possible uses at this site, both now and in the future. And finally, I think in engaging this project, Tough Man was very intentional to be mindful of how they proposed their zoning in terms of conservative setback requirements. So they exceed the setback requirements that are already permitted. One of the setback of 50 feet, we're at 125 feet. The location allows for, I believe, 70% coverage, we're at 50% coverage. And then the operation is very limited, Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. And then, like we mentioned, we have the additional screening efforts with the neighbors. We have the additional screening efforts with the updated site plan. And in that line, I'm going to turn it over to John Oney, our architect, to kind of get into the details of that.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you for hearing this application tonight. I'm John Oney with Archall Architects for the project, 49 East 3rd Street, Columbus, Ohio. I'll move down to the next slide. My part of this for the team here is focusing on the building, and also we looked at the lighting as well. So first of all, the elevations. This is an existing building. What we plan to do is simply, as you saw in the earlier photographs, use some lighter and darker gray textures to accent certain parts of the building. The remainder of the building is an off-white metal building that we would remain the same. We would add our signs, one on the south elevation, one on the east elevation to identify the business. As far as the building location, I will mention that for the overlay district, a building or a parking area could be 50 feet from residential uses. We're going to use the existing building, not tear it down. We'll be 320 feet, 330 feet from the residential property line. We'll also be 120 feet from where we have our paved or inventory area. So what could be there per approved overlay district is a building or parking 50 feet away. I know Randy will address site issues later, but I just wanted to mention that now. As far as the lighting of that area, since it's kind of in our realm of what we'll be providing, we're proposing things that exceed code requirements under the PCD. All the zoning says that there's 0-foot candle spillage to residential properties, and we will do that. In addition, we will limit our building our lighting poles to 25 feet in height. We will have full cutoff fixtures at the 120-foot line, not the 50-foot line. That will be the closest any lighting occurs to the residential properties, and those will have additional house shields. We've also limited our lighting foot candle level to 5-foot candles, which is security lighting you see in a parking lot. There's no restriction to that in the PCD, so we understand lighting's critical and light pollution's critical, so we exceeded the code in that aspect, and that all works for our business and hopefully can, address the concerns of the residences. As far as the building itself, we will use the existing building. It's around 14,000 square feet. We will not tear the building down. We will not do major renovations to the building. As I mentioned before, we will, do some painting and things on the outside. As far as the use of the existing building, it's very similar to, what was there before. When it was originally built in 1988, it was an RV sales and service center. We will have, the building's 14,400 square feet. We'll have a showroom, as you saw in the pictures before, around 3,500 square feet. As you come into the building in the yellow area, there'll be restrooms, there'll be some administrative offices and a beauty place, and then a rental corner where you can move to the showroom, which will be the retail sales counter that you saw, small tools and equipment. The green area is a storage area for obviously inventory and things you can store inside, small parts, that sort of thing. And the service area is only used as the equipment comes back. They'll come in, make sure it's clean, they'll check it to make sure it's run properly. If there's any minimal maintenance required, they'll do that, and it'll go out for rental or sales. Again, there's no major repairs, there's no painting, there's no body shop, there's no air compressors going all day. It's very minor things of making sure the equipment is clean, ready to go back out. So that's the use of the building and the setbacks that we're doing for the building, and also the exterior modifications that we propose. Randy, our civil engineer, is going to address more of the site issues and all those things next. So.
Thank you, John. Randy Van Tilburg with Manick and Smith Group, civil engineer, 1160 Dublin Road, Columbus, Ohio. So you guys have seen the site plan. We sent that with the original packet. We got the update that we sent on Monday, and that was, again, these updates were based on meetings we had with the residents, some feedback we got from David and his group. And,
can you speak up?
Sorry.
There's a gentleman in the back.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
anyway, they were comments that we received from David and also from the Regional Planning Commission when we had the meeting with them. So some things that came up after the application came in, just through that process. So those changes, you can see the meandering mound. We extended that further west. So up on the page as you're looking at it. But that was kind of at the request of the neighborhood. They want us to expand that. We originally didn't go that far because of existing trees. There's a lot of existing wooded area there. But they brought to our attention that there's some dead, dying, diseased trees in there. And if we can clean that up, we can meander that mound through there a little bit better and then give them even more screening with the trees on top of it. So that's the reason for that change that you're seeing there. You know, as John mentioned, you know, he talked about setbacks, existing building setback. You know, we're greater than 90 feet from the right of way of four winds, which is the minimum. As you mentioned, we've got, you know, we could go up to 50 feet on the setback to the north, or 120 feet to our parking lot. I guess the south side, where we're up against probably future commercial buildings, we're doing that per plan. So as we apply here, that goes through the PID. And so we, basically we're looking at, bearings here, again, never mind that. On that south side, we've got a 20-foot minimum parking setback, but we're asking for reduction of that per our zoning text. Again, this site, there's 4 parcels that are involved. 3 original parcels. The original parcel was, they had the 6, sorry, I lost it in my notes here. So we have a parent parcel that's 6.05 acres. That's where the church sits today. They also own a second parcel, about almost 2 acres, that is to their west, which encompasses most of the pond that you see on the site. That area just has amenities, the walk path, you know, to get around the pond. There's another parcel then that stretches, that's in Berkshire Township, on the opposite side of the township line. That would be part of the purchase, but it's not part of the rezone. We're not planning on using it for any operations within Toughman. So we didn't feel like we needed to go to Berkshire Township with any zoning at this point. Then the plan with that original parcel is to split off the frontage. So when we split that parcel out, we split 1.9 acres along US 36. And that was really to provide a buffer, which was kind of directed by your staff, that it looks, you know, to keep the feel of what's going on 36 was to keep that commercial retail feel along the front with the overlay. So we heard that, said, all right, well, we can do a split here. We can still operate in the back. We don't need everything up in the front. So we'll split that. With that, we've met with ODOT. ODOT has told us that if anything goes in there, and we're agreeing to do it now, which is to close that entrance, the current entrance to the church. So that would get closed today. And to make anything in the future work, there'd be a cross-access easement across our property. So we've agreed with that, and we'll, you know, work with that in the final engineering process when we get to that stage. We've also have met with the county engineer's office. We've talked about access on 4 winds. They've approved our access points. They've looked at the site. They've looked at some preliminary traffic numbers and said that works. So they're happy with the locations of those. We've also talked to them about drainage. We've not gotten into the detailed drainage yet, but just in concept level, they've agreed with us that the site has ample area to address any drainage that would come with the additional paved surface area. So that our intent is to reuse the pond. We believe we're going to be able to reuse that pond, modify it a little bit, you know, have to modify the outlets. There's a drainage easement to that pond and an outlet already. So we'll be able to modify that as needed. Those are details that we get into with the final engineering. I think site-wise, I think that's the main things we want to talk about there. We did, again, with the
Madam Chair, may I make a point of clarification? I've heard references to 50-foot setback, 20-foot setback. but according to our guidance, when you go to a PID, this minimum setback is 100 feet.
The PID is,
Right, and you're asking to go to industrial. So when you go to industrial, then the setback becomes 100 feet.
correct. Sorry, if that was, yeah, it's 100 feet, and we're providing 120. I think what we're making reference to is if it stays under the current zoning, it's a 50-foot setback. So anything else that would come in there could go up to 50 foot. Because of our zoning, we're 100 foot away from the neighbors. We're actually going 120 foot. So we're actually extending that even further. So I think that's the comment we were making about the 50 foot. Again, when we were meeting, when the Tough Man representatives were meeting with the neighbors, again, they were in the backyards with them, they were looking across. They said, well, what would this look like from a sightline standpoint? So actually, John's group came up with this exhibit, basically looking at if you were in their backyard or at their second story window, if they have a second story, what you would see looking across there. And you can see, again, these are roughly to scale as best we could do, what that mound would look like, and 6 to 8 foot mound with 6 to 8 foot evergreen trees, soldier course across there, and what their line of sight would look like if they're standing in their backyards. You can see the light poles at 25 feet. You can see the top of the building at 30 feet. So it just gives you a good visual of what they would actually see from their backyards. And that's with evergreen trees that are planted at 8 foot. Give them 5 years and they're 15, 20 foot high. So that's just day one, what it looks like. I don't think I have anything else. James?
So with that, we just wanted to thank you guys for your time and hearing our proposal here, and look forward to being part of the community. If there's any questions, either myself or one of the folks who spoke previously will address those.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I am going to ask the board to pose questions to our presenters, please. Points of clarification. Tony, thank you for that one.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Mainly for Dave. Dave, what code are we using for permitted use for the NAICS? Is it 532?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just curious.
John.
Madam Chairman. One of the presenters said that there are other locations in central Ohio, or going to be. I heard Mansfield thrown out. All I saw in the original text is that you're in Sandusky, Norwalk, someplace else in north central Ohio. Is there something else locally here?
In this
In
meeting
central
area,
Ohio?
yes, so Norwalk, Sandusky, and Sheffield.
Sheffield.
West of Cleveland.
Okay, that's not central Ohio. Did I hear Mansfield? Sheffield, right?
I refer to it as north central Ohio, but we have business that takes us south of Mansfield into Columbus. So our business is pulling us this way.
Okay. Do you have any diagrams or anything of a facility that would mirror this if it were approved, and where it sits in its present location up against commercial or specifically anything that borders a residential area?
Well, with this building not changing, really just kind of adding the accent color to it and the signage as we spoke about, we could get you further pictures of our locations. Typically, we find former car dealerships that are prominently known along busy thoroughfares work well for us. So it kind of has a more upbeat, vibrant presence than say a traditional, mom and pop location that's kind of behind other things, like to be out front. So certainly could follow up with those in terms of other pictures, other sight lines. I want to see those.
Okay, not necessarily. I'm just wondering if you had
Okay.
anything like that, and why this location and not someplace else in north of I-70?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a great traffic flow. We think the connection between I-71 and 23 and that thoroughfare there of just business that's going to be there to come. But certainly needed a place that has better scale. 4 to 6 acres is what we desire. This had certainly more than that, but we kind of need that with the access to the pond and detention systems as well. So we're excited about what this area is going to be bringing for construction, but also know we can kind of fill that gap with local homeowners and such in terms of needing equipment to do their home projects as well.
Okay, question for Dave. The equipment rental place east of this, down toward Bob Evans, got the green and black logo. I can't remember the name of it. Sunbelt. What's that zone? Is that PCD over there? I wanted to look that up, but I didn't get to it.
Well, okay. I did some research on it because I was curious and I figured that would come up. That property is part of the Bob Evans subdivision, which was rezoned in 1993. All is planned commercial. Mid-America Trailer Sales developed that property where Sunbelt is, selling horse trailers, not necessarily campers, but trailers. A gentleman, I cannot pronounce his last name, Smith's Excavating, bought it from them, set it up, run a construction business out of there. Then Sunbelt came in and, find my dates here, Sunbelt set a plan together 8/4/16 is when it was approved. So I went back and looked at the code that was in place at that time. It was the 2012 code. And that type of business was listed under planned commercial. Since then, as we've refined the NAICS numbers on end usage, the type of business 53242 was taken out of the planned commercial and left in the industrial. So, not sure if that answers your question. They were rezoned, they weren't rezoned, it was already zoned planned commercial. Their final development plan was approved as a planned commercial at that time based on the code we were under at that time.
Great, yeah, that answers it. Okay, thank you. I'm a little, okay. And the additional material, I'll call it the supplemental documents. I was sort of half expecting maybe a readable size set of those here. Remember, if we consider an application, we rarely, if ever, approve something where we have a well laid out and organized book and full-size drawings and so forth. And then there's supplemental stuff, which is critical, which is, you can imagine how large that was when I looked at it here. Okay, and we can't say, okay, well, that's good. Oh, well, this isn't answered. Oh, it's on page 5 of the supplemental. It's got to be all together. Okay, so I'm just saying. Thank you.
Any other?
I'm curious, I see the security fencing along the western side of the pond. I know a lot of residents currently go back in the pond, there's paths with and everything. Are they going to continue to be able to use that? Is that still going to be like a public place for people to use, or is that, in the drawings it looks like it will be because of the security fencing being on the other side, but.
Yeah, good question. Spending some time in the neighbors' backyards, we've been able to see that path firsthand. There's actually some nice benches back there and such. Technically, it is and will remain private property, but the fence line does not encroach too far onto those current paths. So I think our intention is to leave well enough alone if it makes sense for those, but we certainly wouldn't necessarily want people, playing or having access to the pond. So there needs to be some consideration for safety alike, but we are not planning to do anything with the current trails.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Tony?
I go back to my original point is, and let me just say, I do appreciate the extent that you guys went to try to mitigate the impact on the neighbors, the community, and trying to fit this in. What I'm coming from is, and I do have 2 pages worth of questions here based on what you presented, but my basic point here is this really congruent with the direction that Berkshire Township wants to go? And that's why the code was revised. That's why this use was placed into an industrial area. From everything that I see, despite really what I consider bona fide efforts to minimize the impact, I just don't see this as being congruent with both what we are supposed to use to evaluate and how it impacts the neighborhood, and the direction that our code really intends us to do. So that's why on one hand, I really, commend you for trying to do the best you can, but the basic point doesn't change that in my mind, does not meet the criteria that's outlined in our code, and it doesn't really fit with the neighborhood and field and intended use and the potential impact that it has from a traffic standpoint, from a noise standpoint, from a aesthetic standpoint, and all of that. So unless there are any other comments before I dive into all my questions, and Dave cuts me off.
I'm gonna cut you off right now. I think to do our due diligence in all fairness to everyone, there may be some people in this room that would like to speak, ask questions, and I think we need to make sure they get their opportunity. So maybe this is a good time, Madam Chair, that we do that.
I was just gonna do that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate you. If we have any people in the audience that wish to step forward, one at a time to the microphone, state your name, your address, and please be advised that you are on a timer as soon as you start speaking.
Hello, my name is Brian Frankel. I live at 6941 Ringville Loop, which is fairly, so I'm not too concerned with the company, but the rezoning issue, which I think we're in agreement, doesn't really serve, we're not talking about neighbors, we're talking about thousands of people now, because we're not just talking about the residents, but all the other condos and apartment buildings. And I'm aware of Ohio Health has invested $11 million in some property. And so when that comes to fruition, there's going to be supporting businesses, doctor's office, urgent care, things like that, not to mention other retailers. So it's not that we have anything, that I have anything against the rental company. I use them all the time. But I think it better served, there's other businesses that better serve the surrounding community. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please understand that your comments are being written down, and we will certainly do what we can. Is there someone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My name's, let me get to the mic, sorry. My name is Kate Jackson. I live at 6891 Turnstone Loop, so I'm just next to the Ringville community. I haven't done one of these before, so I don't know exactly what I can ask, but I would like to ask for clarification on the paths are going to stay in place, but you don't want people to use them, because I use them, I sure do.
Please direct
I'm so sorry.
everything to me, and they
apologize.
can answer you
Okay.
until everything
Sorry.
is done. I'm sorry.
No, no.
I should have stated the rules better than
That's
I did.
okay,
I
not a
apologize.
problem at all.
So please direct
Okay.
everything to me. Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like clarification about that, because my family does use those pathways quite a bit. And I'm also concerned about traffic, the different traffic. I mean, it's 7 to 5. That's gonna be right when buses are going in the morning. My children walk down to the Chipotle. I'm concerned about safety with rental in and out. I'm concerned about noise. I'm concerned about stormwater drainage. And I'm concerned about, if there's a gravel lot, that gravel being pushed down and broken and then gravel dust being in the air. So I would just like to lodge mine. I don't love this plan.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else that wishes to step forward and pose questions or comments, please?
Okay, I'm gonna try to do this in 3 minutes. My name is Stephanie Sneed. I live at 7126 Ringville Loop. So I'm speaking on behalf of my husband, Keith Sneed. He's out of town this week, so we want to thank the applicant and their attorney for meeting with the neighbors, providing updated materials. We appreciate the revised site plan and screening. However, we still have some concerns. Our biggest concern is the direct impact of the industrial use next to existing residential homes. We understand this may be the first situation in this township, possibly surrounding townships, and where industrial zoning would directly touch single-family residents. If that is correct, then the board's decision here could set an important precedent. This is not just about the property it looks like in the summer drawings. It's about nearby residents, what we see, hear, breathe, live year-round, especially in the winter when the leaves are gone and visibility is greater. If the rezoning or development plan is approved, we ask for the following items made clear conditions of approval. First, the screening plan should be specific and enforceable. It should include the mound height, tree type, the tree height, planting, tree spacing, fencing, and the exact location of the screening. Second, there should be clear maintenance, replacement language, and required in the deed. Damage, removing dead trees so the buffer doesn't disappear over time. Third, we propose the 20-foot maximum equipment inventory height should be included as a binding condition. That's not just shown in the drawing. Fourth, lighting should be full cutoff, direct away from the homes and controlled so it doesn't create glare or light spill into the neighborhood. Fifth, future use of restrictions should be broader, clearer than simply limiting manufacturing and milling uses. We ask that restrictions also address more intense future uses such as truck terminals, warehousing, large-scale storage, contractor yards, heavy repair, fueling operations, expanded outdoor storage, and vehicle equipment maintenance beyond the current proposed Tuffman rental operations. Sixth, any approval that should clearly state these protections apply not only to Tuffman but other future owners. That is one of our biggest concerns. If the property is sold or the business changes, the neighborhood protections should remain in place. Seventh, any future phase, expansion, change in operation, increase in outdoor storage area, increase in equipment height, more intense industrial should be required additional public review and approval. We do not want this approval to become an open-ended industrial approval that can grow beyond what is being presented tonight. We ask that dust airborne material be addressed. The proposed operation involves cranes, aerial lifts, scissor lifts. Moving and storing of that equipment can create dust, debris, and other airborne materials. We ask that the final plan include dust control requirements, drive lanes, storage areas, and outdoor equipment movement. We also ask that environmental controls be made part of the approval. This type of operation can include fuel, oil, hydraulic fuel, coolants, batteries, everything else. Trying to hurry.
Do you have much else? Because your 3 minutes are.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you?
I just want to say that we are not here to attack the business. We
Yes.
understand the property owner's rights, and we appreciate the efforts to make the revised plan. But once it's made rezoned for industrial use, the protections for the surrounding residents need to be clear.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I
Sorry.
appreciate your patience. Come on up, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Patrick Max, and I'm at 6984 Ringville Loop in the cottages over here at North Lake. Again, I appreciate all the information and the due diligence and time here, and I know I'm on the clock. Just a couple of things, as was just previously mentioned in terms of traffic count, and I know all of you live in this community, but I know Department of Transportation has already given kind of initial information on traffic counts, but I think it would be prudent to restudy some of those, especially impact. Again, if you're gonna be 7 to 5, what is the bulk of your business time frame? What are those traffic counts? You take a look at Four Winds, anywhere from 6:30 to 9 o'clock a.m., it's tough to get through that light up there on 37. So now you're gonna pull a truck up or whatever you have, and it's gonna make it, it's just gonna combine it. And then again, that has nothing to do with the traffic. Now that they have the lane going north on I-71, that is completely backed up, starting about noon to 3. Also, with traffic counts ever since, which is a smart move by the county to block off the left-hand turn off the 3Bs and a K onto 37, very, very bright, very smart to do because of the accidents. However, all that traffic is now coming down Four Winds. And that's just going to continue to increase as the development, which has already been approved by the Delaware County on homes going up behind us and to the west of us. All those folks will be taking that as a shortcut down through. And then to finalize, really with the traffic impact, what about Sunbury Parkway as that grows and continues? Again, great call there. Extra access, but what is that going to impact that intersection and the surrounding community? I know they said they're just going to keep the building as is for future, and I know they're going to write in the deed, hey, we're going to keep this like this. What about future building? They're going to use the building. What's saying 2 years from now, let's say the business does well, sounds like it will. What if we want to add on to that? How's that going to protect the neighbors, the environment, of the community? And then I think last is just the safety of the community. Anytime you're bringing equipment and stuff in, you're asking for, we have apartments to the east of us, all the houses behind, all the kiddos like to get out and play or whatever it is. Who's gonna really enforce some of that? And I guess I would be concerned about the crime and the impact to the community. Again, to your points, Tony, I don't see it as a congruent fix. I'd rather much see like a medical facility or something in urgent care, which I know is growing down east, but also to the west to serve the community. That is congruency with the community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Please step up.
Good evening. My name is Michael Harrison. I'm at 7080 Greenville. My wife, Chantel, and I live in the neighborhood next door. And we purchased a home next to the church, just like a lot of other folks in that community. We made, everyone there made one of the biggest investments of their lives on the zoning and the land use pattern as it existed at the time. Tonight's request is not simply a new business moving into an existing industrial area. It's a request to place industrial zoning directly adjacent to an established residential neighborhood, and that's significant. My wife and I live approximately 50 feet from the property line. We have a direct line of sight to where the equipment will be stored. In the summer, there is foliage there, but in the winter there's not. Heavy equipment rental operations don't shut down in January, unfortunately. The cranes, aerial lifts, forklifts, the trucks in and out will be there year round, and so will we. So I just want to mention that a significant portion of our neighborhood is made up of retired residents. So working families, for working families, industrial noise during the day is an inconvenience, but for people who are there at home all day long and every day, it becomes something that they can't escape. The quality of impact is not the same for everyone, and this board should consider the people most affected. I understand property owners have rights and appreciate that applicants have met with residents and made the modifications, but zoning decisions are not just about the current applicant. They're about what this land can become in the future and what precedent is established for the township. Once industrial zoning is granted, future residents, future property owners, future boards will live with the consequences of the decisions made here tonight. If the board believes the rezoning is appropriate, then the conditions attached to it should be specific, written and enforceable, not suggested, not shown on a drawing, not binding on this property, regardless of who owns it in the future. The question for the board is whether Tuffman's a good company. I truly believe they are. The question is whether industrial zoning directly adjacent to residential homes can be approved in a way that preserves the character, safety, and most importantly, the value of the homes for the generations to come. If those protections cannot be clearly committed to, I would ask the board to delay approval until they can be.
Thank you so much. Anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Madam Commissioner, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is John Rayfield. I stay at 7107 Greenville Loop. Most of these folks here are my neighbors, and I just want to make a specific request about, potential business. Not that we have any problems with, business. I think we're all for developing business. I personally work for ODOT, so I kind of very aware of the plans in the area. But specifically, I would like to just put on the table that this request for rezoning be reconsidered, and be, anything else that comes along within the, next 5, 10 years, whatever, then rezoning really takes into consideration the residents that inhabit the area. We're, I don't know, more than 50 yards away from this, and there's another rental place kind of down the street from us. Doesn't kind of fit in with the program. We've got homes going to the north of us, homes going to the south, 3Bs and a K. There are more industrial redevelopments going west towards the city that I think would be probably a little bit more congruent to what they want to do. So my vote, or my request, is that the rezoning be reconsidered, and whatever comes along, that we can kind of consider the residential needs, because we're so close to this. So that's my request.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Denise Frigg. I live at 7010 Greenville Loop. And I came today so that I could get a little bit more information. I'm just as confused as I was the first time, but apparently there was a meeting the first time regarding this issue, and I was not invited, or I didn't get any information, and I understand, but I get these plans, and my house is one of the houses that's potentially affected. I think that we need to get a really good idea of what the plan is when you build this up, of how it will look, and then we should get input, because I'm past the pond. In fact, I'm right behind the church. I'm by Chris's house. So where Chris's garage is, I'm right there, but there's some foliage, it's okay, but Chris is a great neighbor, I'm very happy there. But my question is that how does that affect, because we've got nothing, and we keep talking about the people up front, but it affects everybody on that side. And they said they're coming back, but how far back, and what are you gonna do with the house? What's gonna happen there? Are you gonna tear it down, make it an office building? What are you gonna do? I just think that before anything, we need to really get some clarity about what's gonna happen back there. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Jordan Brodsky, 6882 Ringville Loop. Appreciate the opportunity to address the chair and appreciative of the desire to develop. And to be truthful, that's why we moved into this area. For those of us who built here some 4 years ago, what have you, we looked at this plan that the developers had. And it was to create this environment where we have kids, and we've got school buses, and we've got growing families. And if you look at photos, right, and if you look at, I wish I knew I could submit something before, but if you look at photos of what it looks like from above, you've got all of these neighborhoods, or all these families, all these homes, you have this Sunbelt zone, which would be, as of today, as I'm appreciative of the description, that would be industrial today, right? And if you look at Sunbelt, look at the roads, they're destroyed. They are patched constantly. Sometimes the traffic, one of the things I heard was, it's great traffic flow, I think was the language. That's a problem. Because already we have people going to use Four Winds as a cut through to get to 71. And people are going 65 miles an hour down that road. There are kids standing on the corner waiting for the school bus, right? If you try to make a left off of Four Winds to get onto 71, that could be a 10-minute light when you go for the same business hours that we're talking about in the beginning of the day. Turning just that whole intersection, that the traffic is backed up a mile just to get to the highway. So the real concern here is that it's a matter of planning. You know, the idea of this is a blank slate because we get to rezone, it's not a blank slate. We're here, right? This planning for this area is already done. We've committed our lives and our savings into an area that we expect to at least hold its value. And there's no chance that something like a Sunbelt dropped where we are now, right next to where we are now, is going to help anybody in the area except the business. And we want business to grow, but just go west quarter mile. There's plenty of space. There's lots of other locations. The other comment I want to make is that, we're talking about trees and planting trees to try to like shield the neighbors. You know, and heard a comment of, well, in 5 years, they're going to be fantastic. Well, what happens in years 1 to 5 for the people that are here now? What about the poor people that for some reason have to sell or have an issue and they gotta leave and they gotta sell their home? That's a bad situation. Even in the long term, if it ends up being okay, in the short term, it's not for most of the people in this room. I know I'm out of time. One final thing. Yeah, and with the meetings, I also had no idea there are any kind of meetings with the neighbors. Somebody was standing in someone's backyard, I guess, to look through and see what it looks like. Well, we live there. We can look through, and regardless of this situation with the trees, when you hit winter, those are bare. And you look directly back into the church. And we understand that that's what we bought into, but we certainly didn't build into 20-foot pieces of equipment, as I heard tonight. I mean, a 20-foot piece of equipment, that'd be a ton of trees. Like she said, a ton of trees. The other thought is, when people come into that neighborhood, you're turning the corner. So the perspective we have now is from the development outward to the building, right? But if you think of it the other way around, so people are coming down to go into this neighborhood, and now you've got this massive, as attractive as we can try to make it, it's an equipment place. It's an industrial zone, and no matter what you do, it takes away from the property value. There's just no way around it. So thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Unless there's anyone else that's burning to come up and you can, I'm going to ask that we close public participation at this point. And now's the time to speak if it's going to upset you, so let me know. Okay. And I'm going to bounce it back to the board, and we will, Mr. Weed will pose those questions, and we'll do what we normally do. But does the board has sparked any other questions for the board? Yes, John.
Okay, question for the Tuffman representatives. Then the area to the north of the church, which is now slag and grass, that is proposed to be paved in asphalt. Is that correct?
A portion of it is, yes.
What portion?
Let me go back here. So this area here you're speaking of?
Yes. Okay, so the northernmost line going west to east,
This is
right there. So, so very, very large or tall or both equipment could be up against that line. And because that area now there's quite a bit of grass. I'm not sure how far south from the property line it comes, and the rest of it is slag. And there are also some very mature oak trees and a few maple in there, and I presume those would be removed.
This is open today. It's a mixture of grass and gravel. So today there's a mound, I'm not sure why it exists today. We'd be basically building that up and extending it. This is kind of the future plan that we didn't really have a plan for, but part of the community wanted to see more of it year-round. Addressing the 6 to 8 foot tall mound with a 6 to 8 foot tall tree today does encapsulate what they would see off the backside of their property. But to your point, this would be paved, professionally paved here,
Yes.
and it's barely in the day.
Okay, well, and, all right, and again, some of the area that's currently slag, which is more south from the, it's closer to the building itself. Just to let you know, there are, mature oak trees there, and it looks like that'd be paved over. Sounds like those trees would be removed. I'm not sure, but if that's completely, totally paved, then those trees are gone, which is, unfortunate. And does anybody know, Dave, you're included, what that small mound is going from north to south? It looks like there's 3 trees there. It's like a 3-foot mound or something. Do you know what that was? It parallels Four Winds.
Along Four Winds, there is a very small mound there. I think they just had extra dirt, and that was a good place to put it.
Okay, there you go.
To your point, John, there are some tall trees there, but we were just thinking of the fact that any business would have that opportunity commercially as well as commercial industrial.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that. I'm talking about what would happen to it. And the original proposal that we have here in printed form said it's supposed to be a 7-foot mound, although it wasn't to be as extensive from east to west as this is. And why did you change from 4 to 7 feet now instead of straight 7-foot mound? Why is it 4 feet in some areas?
Just the topography through that area.
Okay.
We had plans to work with a professional landscape architect to come in and assess the quality of the trees. There are some diseased trees, there are some that look like trees, but they're really just vines on trees. So to kind of give us a plan that coincides with what we're being asked to do, what we agreed to do, on top of what's just necessary for that area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Was the impervious area calculations done with the asphalt paving of the proposed equipment area? Was that included in that calculation?
It is included.
And it's what, 50%?
And I think the limit was 70, and we went at 50.
The limit is actually 50. For industrial area, it's the 50% impervious.
Yeah, currently 70, industrial 50. And that's what we're designing it to.
Okay, thank you.
It's 50, I'm sure.
Thank you. Dave, are we gonna go through the,
Yeah, if I may, there was a lot of statements, very few questions. Kate asked about the paths, if they were going to stay in place, and I think she was concerned about being able to use those paths. I think they've tried to answer that a little bit. Question by Michael was, what do you do when they expand the building? Very good question. Business grows. It's something that we would all need to think about what would happen. There was a question about meetings but not invited. We're required by Ohio Revised Code to send letters to those within 200 feet of the property to be rezoned. And that's why maybe some of you got a legal notice for this meeting and some of you did, depending on where you live. I want to point out the sign was put in place at the property about a zoning meeting. We don't by law have to do that, but that is one thing we try to do to help keep the community informed. Meeting wise, this is the first public meeting on this subject. I will say that I have met with Tough Man twice, as our code says, an informal to discuss. They share what they want to do. My job is to help everyone get to this point. So they were not public meetings. This is the first of any public meetings. And I really don't say there's any other questions. The comments about the trees, it'll take 5 years for them to fill up. Maintenance agreements, those would have to be in place if this process goes forward. If the applicant wants to go forward, there'll be maintenance agreements would have to be in place. They're kind of hard to enforce. I mean, I just have to say that. But those would have to be in place. I think that's just the gist of the questions. A lot of good comments, though. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. All right, with that being said, we're at the point in our meeting where I'm asking for a motion. And the motion is a rezoning only, so all the other things we talked about, the pond and all of that, is part of the actual final development plan if it is recommended to the trustees that we go forward. But the rezoning is from Planned Institutional Article 14 to Planned Industrial Article 18. And I would entertain a motion for the recommendation.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to submit a motion that application number 26-056, a request for rezoning to Planned Industrial, be denied.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
John,
Yes.
Tamita, Tony,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
Okay. If I may say what this means tonight, this is a recommendation to the trustees. The township trustees have final say and make the legal decisions in all zoning. That meeting will be August 6th, which is a Monday evening. Yeah, August 6th. No, it's not. I got the wrong date.
Yeah, no, our meeting is August 6th.
It's the... Nope, August meeting. I'm sorry, I'm getting my dates going here. Too many meetings.
August 3rd?
No, it's going to be the second Monday of July, which is July 13th. So I'm going to repeat that because I stumbled. July 13th at 7 p.m. at the Township Hall. Legal notices will be sent notifying you of that meeting. There will be a sign placed on the property again notifying you of that meeting. The trustees have three choices. They can approve, they can deny, or they can send it back to the zoning commission with specific questions or items that they think the commission needs to further address. So that's the process. Any questions on the process? Can't spell it out any more than that.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. With that being said, are there any further issues that need to be addressed tonight? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
John,
Yes.
Tamita,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.